Good evening, everyone. This is your Sir Jasper, and welcome to Virtual English. For today's lesson, we will talk about IELTS Writing Task 1, particularly how to compose an interpretation of a bar graph. This discussion is related to our topic or our previous topic, which is about a graphical abstract, which is considered one of the types of abstract. In this topic, we're going to cover the four parts and how we're going to compose each of the part. First, we have introduction, second is overview, third is the body A, and the last one is the body B. To begin with, our academic writing task 1 golden rule is write only what is there. Opinions are not allowed. In other words, you have to interpret what is only being presented in the bar graph. Do not include any opinions or any data that are not being presented in the given visual. The following is the structure of data interpretation. First is the introduction, which is composed of 1 to 2 sentences only. The second one is the overview. The third one is the body A, and the fourth one is the body B. The following is an example of a bar graph, and let me read the description. The chart shows the expenditure of 2 countries on consumer goods in 2010. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. Make comparison where relevant. Here there are 2 countries. We have France in blue and UK in red. We also have 5 consumer goods. These are cars, computers, books, perfume, and cameras. We have also numerical data from 100,000 to 500,000, and we have a unit of measurement, which is the pounds sterling. Now, let's begin with our introduction. When we make our introduction in this writing task 1, we have to first paraphrase the question or topic sentence. What does it mean? You have to write the topic sentence in your own words. Use synonyms. Change sentence structure and write it in a different way. Do not copy the question exactly. And the second one is to show additional information. Look for unit of measurement. If not, specify the important variables in the topic sentence or statement. Here is an example of a topic sentence. Let me read. The chart shows the expenditure of 2 countries on consumer goods in 2010. Below is its paraphrase. The bar graph illustrates the amount of money spent on 5 consumer goods, namely cars, computers, books, perfume, and cameras in France and the UK in 2010. Now, as you can see, the way it is expressed is different, but the sense is still the same. As I said in our previous lesson, when you paraphrase, you have to use synonyms. Now, let's look at the synonyms on both articles. What is the synonym of chart? Based on the paraphrase statement. Chart is to bar graph. Shows. Shows is to illustrates. Expenditure. Expenditure is the amount of money spent. Remember, you may use also terms that could exceed the word count of a given term as long as the sense is still the same. Just like expenditure, that's one word, and the amount of money spent, how many words? That's 5 words. Okay? Another, 2 countries. It's France and UK. Remember, you may also specify what are the 2 countries instead of just saying 2 nations. And last one, we have consumer goods. It's 5 consumer goods, and it is also, or they are also specified, which are cars, computers, books, perfume, and cameras. And remember, you cannot paraphrase 2010. Although you may express it in words, the word count is still 1. So, numerical variables are still counted as 1 even if you express it in words. Aside from paraphrasing, you have to also show additional information. For example, in this kind of graph, is there a currency or a unit of measurement? Yes, we have a unit of measurement. Thus, we can say, after the paraphrase, units are measured in pounds sterling. So this will be the overview of our introduction. Let me read. The bar graph illustrates the amount of money spent on 5 consumer goods, which are cars, computers, books, perfume, and cameras in France and the UK in 2010. Units are measured in pounds sterling. The first statement is the paraphrased one, while the second sentence refers to the additional information based on the given graph. After the introduction, now let's make an overview. What are we going to do here? You have to highlight or emphasize the key features. In other words, choose only the most important details from the given graph. So, since we have a bar graph and our sample is actually a stable data, we're going to choose which of the variables is the highest and which is the lowest. In this example, there are two variables that need to be contrasted in the given graph. The first one is the two countries. Which of the two is higher? Is it France, which is marked in blue, or UK, which is in red? So, if you are going to analyze the given data, which of the two is higher? Is it France or UK? It is UK. So that's the first thing you are going to mention in your overview. And the second that you are going to mention is which of the variables are or is the highest and lowest consumer goods. So to make it organized, we're going to look at both countries. Let's first start with France. What is the highest consumer good in France? It is cars. And what about the lowest? The lowest is cameras. Now, let's look at the UK. What is the highest consumer good for UK? We have cars. And how about the lowest? We have perfume. So those are the things we have to mention in our overview. Thus, this is what our overview looks like. And when you make your overview, you always begin with overall, or in general, or generally. Those are the three things you're going to use to begin with your overview. But this time, we're going to use overall. Overall, the expenditure of the UK was higher than that of France. Another, both the French and British spent the most money on cars. As you can see, instead of saying France, the writer used French. Instead of using UK, again, the writer used British. You have to use synonyms, vary your words. And now here we're talking about the most or the highest consumer good. And now let's also continue. While in the UK, now as you can see we have while. While is a cohesive device. You have to also use transitional devices or signposts to connect your ideas together. While in the UK, the least amount of the money was consumed. Instead of using spent again, the writer used consumed on perfume compared to cameras in France. Here we're talking about the lowest consumer goods. And the last one is the body paragraph. Remember that we have two paragraphs in the body after the overview. We have body A and body B. So what we're going to do, we have to describe the details more. In other words, we have to properly group the data in two paragraphs. Focus only on main points or key features only. It is not necessary that you will include all of the things mentioned in the given visual. What is important are the key features or the main points. Establish relationships among the variables through providing evidence on their similarities and differences. In this bar graph, since we have two body paragraphs and we have two countries, we have to use this to properly divide our data. Particularly, we're going to begin with the country which has a higher variable compared to the other one. So between France and UK, which of them do you think is higher? Is it France or UK? It is UK. And another thing to focus on is we're going to mention the expenditures that are higher in UK compared to France. So let's start with with cars rather. Under cars, is UK higher than France? Yes. So we are going to include that in body A. Under computers, is UK higher than France? No. Under books, yes. Perfume? No. Cameras? Yes. Therefore, in our body A, we're going to talk about cars, books, and cameras. So, this is what our body A looks like. In terms of cars, the UK spent around £450,000 sterling on this commodity, with a difference to exactly £50,000 sterling in France. The expenditure on books in the UK was higher than in France, about £400,000 sterling and £300,000 sterling respectively. Moreover, British shelled out under £400,000 sterling in cameras compared to French with over £100,000 sterling only. As you can see, we have varied words or vocabulary. Instead of using spent, we have shelled out. Instead of using UK, we have British. And you have to also include datas like around £450,000 sterling. It's not necessary that you need to mention the exact value. Okay, you may say around or above or below. Another, we have under £400,000 sterling. So that's what your body A should look like. Now that we are already done with UK, it's time for France now to be mentioned in body B. Particularly, we're going to mention consumer goods in France that are higher compared to UK. Now let's begin with cars. Should we include cars? No. How about for computers? Yes, because France is higher than UK in this kind of graph. Books? No. Perfume? Yes. And cameras? No. Thus, in our body B, we're going to talk about computers and perfume. And here is our sample of our body B. Let me read. On the other hand, above £350,000 sterling was spent by the French on the computers, which was slightly more than the British, who utilized exactly £350,000 sterling. As you can see, we have used the cohesive device on the other hand because this paragraph is contrary to the given or to body A, which talks about UK. Here we're talking about the France. Another, neither of the countries spent much on perfume, which accounted for £250,000 sterling of expenditure in France, but under £150,000 sterling in the UK. And that ends our virtual lesson on Flip Classroom. I hope you learned a lot from today's online discussion. If there are any questions, feel free to raise them in class and I will do my best to entertain your queries. So again, this is your Sir Jasper. See you tomorrow and have a great evening.